Fiscal 2027 pay classification plan to add the position of operations analyst. Is there a second to the motion under Article 11? Okay, we have a video queued up for this, so please pay attention. It's coming up on your screen right now. Well, in a couple of seconds.
Westford, like many communities across Massachusetts, faces ongoing budget pressure. At the same time, residents expect strong services, strong schools, and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. To strengthen financial management and identify operational efficiencies, the town is proposing to create an operations analyst position. Creation of new non-union positions requires a vote of town meeting.
Westford continues to experience a structural deficit, similar to many other Massachusetts municipalities. We operate under Proposition 2.5, which limits annual revenue growth to 2.5% per year, in addition to new growth from development. At the same time, many of our costs, including labor, energy, waste disposal, and health insurance, are rising faster than that. In March of 2024, we reorganized the assistant town manager role to focus more directly on operational efficiency and financial performance. Since then, despite staffing reductions, we delivered more than $4.8 million in direct taxpayer benefit. Those results came from stronger contract oversight, energy rebates, grants, improved surplus sales, and other operational improvements. We committed to finding more creative ways to deliver core services. Therefore, we're proposing to create the operation analyst position to continue building on that progress while protecting the services our residents rely on. The proposed operations analyst position expands our analytical capacity so we can keep identifying savings, improve oversight, and strengthen Westford's long-term financial planning.
To stay within Prop 2.5 limits in recent budgets, we've reduced headcount in critical areas like educators, fire, DPW, and police. When we are struggling to provide essential services in these areas, why would we propose an operation analyst position? To provide the best support to our schools, first responders, and the many others that serve Westford residents, we need to be creative and efficient. In 2023, the Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee created the Budget Task Force, a group charged with benchmarking our spending levels against peer communities and identifying savings opportunities. The areas identified have already generated millions of dollars in savings and other direct taxpayer benefits. To continue and expand that work, we see the operations analyst position as a proactive investment. Rather than reacting to budget shortfalls after they occur, this builds internal capacity to identify efficiencies and support data-driven decisions. By investing in further pursuit of operating efficiency, we can preserve more of your taxes dedicated to schools, first responders, and other critical services.
In the private sector, organizations rely on financial analysts to forecast trends, manage costs, and identify efficiencies. Municipal government needs similar analytic capacity. This position supports stronger financial modeling, fee alignment, and contract benchmarking, all of which were recommendations of the Budget Task Force. There is also built-in accountability and transparency. The Select Board, Finance Committee, and School Committee will receive quarterly updates through the tri-board process with clear goals and measurable performance metrics. This is why the Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend this position to town meeting, because it strengthens the town's ability to manage costs, improve oversight, and make more informed financial decisions over time.
Recycling and waste reduction programs in Westford require significant coordination. Many programs, including special recycling events, are organized and supported by volunteers, working closely with town staff. These events are valuable to residents, but they do require a great deal of planning and coordination.
Behind the scenes, that means coordinating vendors, managing logistics, and ensuring events run safely and efficiently. The time commitment for volunteers is significant. And at this point, we're essentially at capacity with the programs that we currently run. If the town wants to expand these programs or even sustain the current level of service over time, dedicated staff support will be important.
The proposed operations analyst position is an investment in improving how the town manages its operations and finances. By strengthening our internal analytical capacity, this position will help identify efficiencies, control costs, and support data-driven decision-making across multiple departments. It will also allow the town's leadership to focus more of their time on higher-level operational and financial concerns, including implementing the recommendations of the Budget Task Force. We also recognize that maintaining services across town, including our schools, requires continued investment. Positions like the operation analyst are not a substitute for police officers, firefighters, or educators, or other frontline staff. They help create the financial foundation needed to restore and sustain those positions over time. Our goal is to build a stronger foundation for long-term financial stability, so we can protect services, support our schools, and continue to deliver the level of services our residents expect.
Okay, thank you. So this operations analyst position is a new position. It would be band 3 with a minimum salary of $70,084 and a maximum salary of $97,974. The select board recommends 5-0. The finance committee recommends 8-0. The personnel advisory committee recommends 3-0, and the clean energy and sustainability committee recommends 6-0. The recycling commission recommends 4-0. All right, do we have questions or comments from the floor? Yes, sir, at my left.
Hi, my name is Scott Harkness, 15 Castle Road. For the record, I'm speaking on behalf of the Personnel Advisory Committee. The Town Manager's Office brought this proposed position to the committee, and we reviewed it carefully, including the job description, classification, and how it fits with the town overall organizational structure. Following that review, the PAC voted unanimously 3-0 to recommend the operations analyst position to be placed on the pay classification plan. I don't know if I can read this that fast. A key role to the PAC is understanding how positions fit across the organization. Based on our familiarity with town departments and job responsibilities, we can say clearly the work proposed for this position is not currently assigned anywhere else in a consistent or sustainable way. While pieces of this work are happening today, they are being handled in an ad hoc basis by senior staff, and in some cases are not being done at all. The position formalizes and centralizes critical and analytical, financial, and operational responsibilities that are currently fragmented or not currently assigned. It's also worth noting that this type of role is very common in the private sector, often comparable to a financial planning and analyst, FP&A, or operations strategy function, where dedicated staff support leadership with data-driven insights, cost controls, and performance management. This position brings that same level of discipline and analytical capacity into town government. From an organizational standpoint, this is a professional, non-union analytical role designed to support data-driven decision-making, improved efficiency, and strengthen oversight of major cost areas like solid waste and energy. In short, the PAC views this as a well-defined, appropriately classified position that fills a clear gap and supports the town's long-term financial sustainability. For these reasons, the Personnel Advisory Committee strongly recommends approval. Thank you.
Hey, you just made it. I was about to get the hook. Yes, sir, at the center microphone.
Doug Burns, 4 Black Bear Lane. I want to read something from 2004. When we hired our second town administrator, assistant town administrator.
I'm sorry, just stay close to the mic so we can hear.
When we hired our second assistant town administrator, right? Because we used to have just a town manager when I started here in town. Now we've got 3. The key duties of the assistant town manager of strategic operations, which is the person from 2024, was to supervise the Veterans Agent, Animal Control Officer, and Sustainability Coordinator. Operations and Logistics, he's manages the insurance, solid waste and recycling, and acts as a liaison for public facilities. Strategic Initiatives, implements the town's strategic plan, including cost control, revenue optimization, and long-term capital improvement planning. Contractual oversight, assists with improving contracts, tracking costs, and managing special projects, including research, data analysis, and support for the town manager. Compliance, ensures compliance with state procurement laws and contracts and licenses. We voted this in 2024. What is this person going to do moving forward? I believe we are now adding duplicative processes as we shuffle things around, and that the workload on the town management office from 2000, where we had one town manager, to 2025 has not increased by a factor of 4, because none of our operations in town, school, fire, police, or whatever, have increased such that that workload would have increased that much. I also believe that this is a misdirection of where we want to go when we can't even pay our firefighters appropriately.
Thank you. Did you want to respond, Kristen?
So just to clarify, the town manager has had an assistant town manager since before 2008. I have not looked back in the history since that time. I retitled the position in 2024 when we had a change of staff, so it is not a new position.
It was a new position.
Sir, no arguing with the speaker, please. That is not acceptable.
Okay.
Okay.
So it is not a new position. There was always a person in that role. You did properly read the job title and the job description. Mm-hmm. Over the course of time, I have given the Assistant Town Manager of Strategic Operation additional duties to oversee some of our community services departments, recreation, council on aging, community wellness. And that position is overseeing those items, and they would also be overseeing the items that the operation analyst will be performing. I just want to make sure that the members of the community who are here know that on the town meeting website, we provided a document of this position's job duties, job title, and a variety of items that they would be working on.
Thank you. At the microphone to my right. You've asked your question. If you want another question, go to the back of the line.
I'm not asking a question. I think I should have a right to rebut that she said this wasn't a new position.
This is not a back and forth. If you have another question, you can go to the back of the line.
You got it.
Heather.
Heather Fitzpatrick, Shannon Circle. I'm curious if in Article 13 the budget doesn't pass, does this become null and void, or vice versa?
We'll get an answer to that.
So in Article 13, which is the operating budget, under the solid waste section, we do have a position titled the operations analyst. If you vote to approve the compensation plan to include an operations analyst, but you do not vote to fund the position, it would still remain on our class and comp plan, but we would not be able to fund it, and then it would not be filled.
Can I follow up first?
Follow up.
Could it be funded in any other means through FinCom transfers, or, I know at the end of the year when you haven't spent a full budget, could you fund it then?
So any of the Finance Committee Reserve Fund transfers or budget transfers are for fiscal year 26 only. There would be nothing to fund it in the fiscal 27 budget unless you came back in October town meeting to fund that.
So they couldn't fund it July 2nd with their new budget?
There would be no funds available, no.
Microphone to my left.
Madam Moderator, my name is Ken Teal, 3 Beaver Dam Drive. There's been a lot of great things said in favor of this, which I am in favor of it, but I'm also a representative of the Westford Recycling Commission, and we put out a paper on it, and I'm not going to read through that whole letter. I must say that Chris Erickson and George Haynes did a great job of presenting what we want to talk about. For many of you, you've probably seen us at all of the different recycling events, and we're a volunteer organization, as all the committees and commissions in the town are. What this will do, in addition to our electronics event and our household hazardous waste and our junk in the trunk and our support of, what it always goes out of my head, in our zero waste event, this will allow the potential of expanding what we're doing to do these particular projects more often, more expansively, to enlarge what we're able to handle and answer to customers. We know that we're able to do an awful lot through the Westford recycling site. It has the A to Z of recycling, and what we want is to even make that better. Our whole goal is to reduce waste. And if we reduce waste successfully, we reduce costs. It all works for us, it works for the environment, and I urge all of us here to pass this item. Thank you.
Thank you. At the center microphone.
Thank you. Wendy Gloyd, 16 Pleasant Street. I'm going to cut to the chase and talk about the importance of this position. Half of this person's time will be managing the trash and collection services, which is very important to the community. The other half will be dedicated to looking for opportunities to get grants and funding. So it's an investment, a small investment that will pay for itself over time. The reason we need Mike Edwards, Assistant Town Manager, free, he is the ADA coordinator. We have identified as a town many projects that can be easily taken care of to improve the accessibility for our outdoor and our indoor space at low cost to make them accessible to folks in the community without struggle. And if he is stuck with managing what needs to be done in the town, if this doesn't go through, our folks with disabilities are going to be not left to the side because no one cares, but left to the side because no one has capacity. Thank you.
And at the microphone to my left.
Hi, Rhonda Fitzgerald, Russell's Way. I'd like to suggest a more flexible approach to this new position. The town has already said it's using AI tools, so before committing to a full-time position, it seems reasonable to consider using those funds for a targeted AI pilot. Even if only some of the reporting, monitoring, and analytical tasks in this role can be supported by AI and existing staff, that still creates value. A pilot would allow the town to test what efficiencies are actually achievable before making a long-term hiring decision. If this approach proves effective, it could also create flexibility and redirect funds towards town core priorities, such as public safety. And I'd like to just say that the firefighters have been without a contract for close to 2 years now, and it's really a matter of priorities. And with AI, it's just rapidly, even over the past 6 months, it's just, the capabilities are incredible, actually. And while it's not the answer to everything, we should definitely be investing in AI tools and licensing. And I would like to maybe hear from the IT person here, if he's still here, if that was ever discussed as a possibility for some of the work for this new role.
I actually think that's outside the scope of this article. Changing a position listed for someone to fill to an AI position is not something.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying we should pilot it.
Is not something that was on the warrant sufficiently for people to be warned excuse me.
I understand
that was going to be coming up.
No, I'm not
and
suggesting.
If it's not on the warrant, and if people aren't warned that that's going to be discussed, it is outside the scope of what we can talk about today.
Okay, I do understand. I'm not saying that this position should turn into an AI position. I'm saying that we should be investing in AI and possibly, maybe we don't need this position because we could use AI technology to do some of what this position, which would free up the town manager to focus on the bigger picture things and all the things that he needs to do.
I think
That's
I
what I'm
understand
saying.
what you're saying, and I still think it's outside the scope of an article that is meant to address whether or not we should hire someone to take on the position and the duties that were delineated.
Okay, I disagree, but anyway, I've said my piece. I hope the town considers it, and I hope they start investing more.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You need to speak.
I hope the town considers it and starts really looking at using AI to make everyone in town more productive and be able to focus on bigger picture tasks. It's really an amazing technology. Thank you.
At the center microphone.
Doug Burns, 4 Black Bear Lane. I want to respond to what was said when I was up here last.
You can make a comment.
In 2023, we had a person that was funded by ARPA funds. In 2024, that position was made full-time, and that was the second town manager. So that we don't forget these things. They're part of the facts. We spent ARPA funds on a position.
Would you like to hear the answer from?
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sure. I started as town manager in February of 2023, and I have reviewed budgets since then. The assistant town manager position has never been funded by ARPA funds. It's always been funded in the operating budget.
Okay, at the microphone to the right.
Tammy Fannin, 19 Moore Ave. I have a question about what we're seeing as the cost up here. You're saying this is just the salary. What does it actually cost us with benefits?
We'll get an answer to that question.
So there's a range associated with benefits. Only about 56% of our eligible employees actually take the health insurance with the town. So as an average, we say about $22,000 per new employee.
So just to be clear, we'd be looking at an additional $20,000 per chance on this role.
Yes, if they elect the insurance. Could be higher, could be lower, but on average, that's the number.
Elisa.
Elisa, Betty Lane, sorry, Nicashin, Holzberg, Betty Lane. I had the opportunity to speak with Mike Edwards for the first time, actually, this past week, and it was very clear to me he's invested in his job and needs help. I get it. But I also know putting in a new position, this is expensive. Like, I think we just said another $20K for benefits and such. I'd rather see a school teacher. I'd rather see emergency personnel. So I'm not saying he doesn't need the help. He does. And I also have to say, everyone's using AI in the business fields now. The best engineers we work with are being made smarter by using AI. The best. Okay? So there's no option not to be using AI in your everyday work anymore. It's a must. My question is, did we consider a part-time position?
Let me ask the question, we have a point of order, please. Where does the point of order?
What's that?
Yeah. It's a matter of trying to decide what will go faster. Okay, why don't you finish your comment, Elizabeth?
My question is, it's not a comment, it's a question. I want to be clear. I want to know, did we study whether we could do this with a part-time position, a half-time position?
Okay, we've got the question. Can we do this with a half or part-time position?
If it can show us some efficiencies and then fund itself for the next year. Thank you.
So I just want to be clear with town meeting that this article is to create a position title within our pay and classification plan. This article is not whether or not to fund the position at a part-time or a full-time basis. So I understand also the question was, did we study whether a part-time or a full-time position would benefit the town greater? And I can tell you that we did. We've had these discussions with the select board, the finance committee, the personnel advisory committee, our staff as well. And we feel in order to attract the best candidate and for the town of Westford to gain the most benefit in resources, that we would benefit from a full-time position.
At the center microphone.
Elizabeth Sawyer, 6 Holly Lane. Again, speaking for myself, although I'm a member of the Recycling Commission, and my opinion is shaped by 2 decades in that role. We have been clamoring as a town for stricter managing of our budget, operational efficiency, and as noted earlier, this kind of position is part of the way other towns do that very thing. If you read between the lines, what we're hearing is that there is money currently being left on the table. There is money not being obtained. If we play this out for a couple years, we can just plan on that money not coming to us because there isn't somebody stopping to look across first the low-hanging fruit in the commodities market of trash, the variability market of energy. There isn't a person stopping to dig in. There are big projects that need to be done. That's where we want our top management focused. Count on the money either going out the door, being spent for terrible reasons, no clawbacks from vendors, no grants obtained, no targeted use of AI entering the department in strategic ways. We can't just drop AI in there. Somebody's got to establish the practices by which we gain these efficiencies. And the practices can start right away in trash and recycling. The reason the timing is so timed with trash and recycling is because that is one of our critical pain points. It's almost unfortunate that it's now that we're talking about it in terms of trash. This position is needed independent of trash, but boy, should it start with trash. Every time a vendor misses your pickup, second time, they should be fined. They miss it a third time, the fine should be big. There's big money not happening just by not fining the vendor because no town manager or assistant town manager should be saying 6 Holly Lane missed again, on and on. And when there's a neighborhood missed, I mean, we are talking about money that is going out the door. We either get it with this experiment, and that's the way Mike Edwards has framed it, quarterly updates. He's going to be the first one to eliminate this position if it doesn't finish. Please vote for it.
To my right, please.
John Amano, 88 Chamberlain Road. I don't know where to go with this now. Unbelievable. The presentation was great, and the thing that I remembered most is the people we have in government now, today, were pretty damn good. They were able to find $4 million without a special group, without a special guy, agency, or girl, or whatever, within the framework of what we have. The question really is this just adjusting the proposed budget to the actual budget that we're trying to accomplish? Or are we really trying to find innovative ways that no other town or city in the country has been able to come up with to lower the budget? Prop 2.5 protects the taxpayers from getting hijacked too much. All we ask is for the people who run the town is to try and pick up the rest. And so we're not asking for anybody to beat anybody up. We're not asking for people to check every expenditure within government. Just continue where we are. When was the last time we had an override? 2 years ago? No, 3 years ago, because 2 years ago, last year we didn't have one, and we don't have one now. So the people in town are doing something right. They're not dropping the ball. So people who think they're dropping the ball, they're way off. They may be making choices that benefit them, but they're really not dropping the ball. And I bet you bottom dollar they could do next year without an override. Thank you.
At the microphone to my left.
Megan O'Connell, 44 South Chelmsford Road. I was fortunate enough to have a conversation with Mike Edwards a few weeks ago about this position. In theory, I love the idea, someone that can, find more grants and find more efficiencies in town. But I'm also struck by the fact that we do that now without this position. And so what I would like to see is, since we already have a baseline of, some efficiencies and a number of grants coming in, if there would be a commitment by the town to establish a minimum additional savings which, if it's not met, we would then eliminate this position. Because I keep hearing that, this is an investment, and for an investment, I think we should expect a return.
So, okay, Tom Clay, Chair of the
Tom Clay,
Select Board.
So I think you heard that from Mike, and I think you also heard that from Christina, that there's a plan both to track and make sure we're getting a positive cash flow return on this, so covering the expense of the position plus generating new money that can be used for other critical services. And I think I also heard from Christina that we're going to be going at this quarterly in the tri-board and basically looking at just what you're talking about as a review. So there's definitely a commitment to do that. I think maybe the action item we can take is to be a little bit more specific about exactly what we're measuring. But yes, you've got a commitment to do that, both from the Finance Committee tri-board side and from Mike's side.
But to clarify, there's no set goal at the moment.
There's certainly a commitment to show that we can overcome the salary and give sort of significant cash flow returns like we've seen before from the effort we put in. But in terms of there being a specific percentage target, I think that's a good idea, and that can be an action item for follow-up. But I think we're quite confident that we're gonna both earn back the money and get a significant return. I think if you looked at the return Mike's gotten on the time he's put into this, it's millions of dollars. We don't pay Mike millions of dollars. So we've seen many factor returns on this so far.
Okay, I'm going to take the people that are at the microphone now, and then we'll move on because we still have to do the budget. At the center microphone, please.
David Hudson, Myrtle Avenue. How much of the total cost of a position of this salary band was factored into the calculation of the savings for pay-as-you-throw?
Get an answer to that.
100%.
Okay, thank you. Heather?
I have the inverse question of what I asked before. So before, if this could pass and there's no funding in Article 13, you can't hire somebody. What happens if this article fails and there's funding in 13?
Town manager?
If this article fails and we still have funding in Article 13, we could use that towards overtime, or we could see if another position currently classified in our pay and comp plan would cover that.
So it could be transferred to a different department?
I'm sorry?
It could be transferred to a different department.
That could be an option. I don't have all the options on the table today.
And then who would this report to?
The operations analyst reports to the assistant town manager of strategic operations, who reports to me.
Okay, thanks.
Microphone to my left.
Gloria Miller, 14 Hutchins Way. 2 quick points. As residents, we often challenge town staff and our boards to come up with creative solutions that both maintain or improve our services at an efficient cost. When our town staff and boards come back to us with such a solution, such as pay-as-you-throw, we as the town meeting body need to support them in how to implement those creative solutions. So I would advocate voting yes on this position. Secondly, with regards to the comments on AI, yes, is this going to involve change? It is. So when a senior in town is confused or concerned about their trash pickup or their recycling, they don't want to call an AI chatbot. They want to call a person. So I'm a big advocate of technology, but it is no substitute for a person on the other end of the line. Thank you.
At the center microphone, Nate.
Nate McKinnon, 8 Sherlock Lane, member of the Finance Committee, however, speaking on behalf of myself. I just want to echo some of the previous comments, which is that this is an investment. We should expect a return. If we don't, I think we can expect to hold our both town manager and select board accountable to do what they've said they will do, which is consider not continuing this. But I think what we'll see is that it will be highly effective. There will be a strong return. Mike Efficiency Edwards, as he's known, is somebody who has proven time and again what the value is when you have the capacity to look into where cost savings can be achieved across our town. We need more of that, not less of that. We need to expand that capacity because, as we heard earlier in the presentation from the town manager, our future fiscal outlook is not great. We will continue to be pinched by rising costs versus limited revenue. This is an opportunity to find more ways for us to be efficient as a town and it's important that we take that whenever we can. Thank you.
And sir, at the microphone to my left.
Paul Edelman, 39 Vos Hill Road. I was an operations analysis. I'm retired. And I'm looking at this band. And you're not going to attract the best and brightest with this band. 70,000 is, I mean, that's going to be a very young, inexperienced person just graduating from school. They're not going to have, he or she is not going to have the connections or the experience to attract to go through getting grants. On the other end, 97,000 is not enough to attract someone with the experience. Say he has that, he or she, 20 years of experience. 97 is like, I don't want to say it's something, but that's something an engineer or an analyst would get after 3 or 4 years of experience, providing they're doing their job well. My recommendation, I see the need for an analyst, and the question is that the only analyst we have for the town? And does the breadth of that person cover all the departments? So I strongly believe, especially because of my background, that doing a detailed analysis, looking at costs, effects, benefits, is a wise thing to do. See what the return is. And there will be bonuses from doing that. But I think we're going to have to pay that person more than this to attract the best and the brightest.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to the vote. Get your clickers out. And if you are in favor of the amendment to the...
Excuse me, can I make a motion? The
Depends what
motion
it
would be to increase the ban.
One moment, please.
Yes. Maybe I'll take the job. It's high enough. Yes. I've got some good qualifications, believe me.
No, you cannot amend this. You can only vote it up or down because it has to go through the Personnel Advisory Committee and be recommended by them. And this is the band that they recommended. So you cannot amend this band or pay scale.
Then I have a question. What was the basis of establishing that band?
Okay. We can get an answer to that question.
So the Personnel Advisory Committee has a very clear ranking system when they're looking at job descriptions based upon education, experience, duties, managerial. Will this be manager or not? This will not be a management position, and they grade those, and the final grading falls within our band schedule of grade 1 through grade 10.
I understand, but it still makes no sense to me at all. And I don't see why we can't make and accept a motion.
Because you can only have this article on after the band has been approved by the Personnel Advisory Committee. And this is what they approved, so you can't amend it.
So
sir, I think that's the end.
Okay, so as much as I like this position, I'm not going to support it.
Got it. All right, take your clickers out. If you are in favor of Article 11 and the position created under it, you're going to vote yes. If you're opposed, you're going to vote no. Is everybody ready? Okay, voting is now open. You look like you're falling asleep. Come on.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't have a flipper.
Sorry?
I don't have a flipper. I went through
I would suggest that you go out and get one from the tellers, but I cannot hold the vote for you. Sir, did you have a clicker before that you turned in? Yeah. Sir, one moment. You need to go out and get it from the tellers because they need to check you in and make sure you're a registered voter. No, I think he's got it. Okay, we are back to going for the vote. If you are in favor of this position, please use your clickers, which I hope everybody has, and vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. People are voting. Okay. Voting's open, has been open for a little bit.
Madam Moderator, I'm not holding anything up.
Sit down, please, until the voting is completed. 5 seconds till we close the vote. Voting is closed. The motion passes 173 yes to 68 no. Elisa, please come into the microphone.
Thank you. I was just trying to save time, that's all. I wanted to understand what we were just told, because I'm certain I've been at a town meeting where we have adjusted these pay bands.
Oh, no. So we're not going to have any more motion, any more
No,
argument.
I'm not. I want to understand what we were just told.
Sit down, please. We've already voted. It's done. If you would like to understand further, you could contact Town Hall after the meeting and go over it with them.
But I want to know how one changes it. Is it at a future meeting?
Again, you can go to Town Hall and discuss that with them. There is nothing on the floor right now to discuss. If you have a point of order, I'll accept it, but that's not a point of order.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's move on to the budget. Under Article 13, I have a motion that the town raise and appropriate $143,869,234 for the fiscal 2027 operating budget. Is there a second to the motion? At this time, please turn to page 11 of your purple motions booklet, or check up on the screen. We'll be doing a line-by-line review of the budget. As you can see, starting about 2/3 of the way down the page, it says General Government. Each department or category of our town government is listed, followed horizontally across the page by 5 columns. The numbers we'll be working with are the bolded totals in the 3rd column, labeled Fiscal 2027 TMR. These are the numbers you're being asked to vote on in this motion. I'll read through the list of departments along with the totals for each, and if you have a question or comment on any of them, please say hold, and we'll come back to that item to hear your question or comment. Before we get to that, please look at the top of page 11 of your motions booklet, and there, under Article 13, you'll see 12 appropriations in this budget, which are listed separately from the rest of the budget because they're being appropriated from sources other than this year's tax dollars. I'll read through those items first. Please say hold if you have a question on any particular item. Everybody with me? Okay. To the general fund, $133,600 to be appropriated from the overlay surplus. To the community preservation fund, $1,204,626 from the community preservation fund fiscal 2027 revenue. To the town revolving funds, $3,000 from the Senior Center Fitness Room revolving 53E.5 fund. To the town revolving funds, $20,931.80 from the Immunization and Clinical Revolving 53E.5 fund. To the town revolving funds, $7,350 from the East Boston Camps Maintenance Revolving 53E.5 fund. To the town revolving funds, $13,000 from lease of the town buildings at 65 and 73 Main Street and 170 Plain Road revolving 53E.5 fund. To the opioid settlement proceeds, $25,000 from the opioid settlement funds. To the Water Enterprise Fund, $5,228,347 from the water enterprise revenue, and $800,000 to be appropriated from water enterprise retained earnings. To the Recreation Enterprise Fund, $1,151,000 from the Recreation Enterprise revenue, and $190,526 from the Recreation Enterprise retained earnings. To the Ambulance Enterprise Fund, $925,000 from Ambulance Enterprise revenue, $120,000 appropriated from Ambulance Enterprise retained earnings, and $406,966 to be raised and appropriated. To the Stormwater Enterprise Fund, $1,001,110 from the Stormwater Enterprise revenue, and $600,000 to be raised and appropriated. To the Expendable Trust, $10,000 from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Expendable Trust. I'm going to stop there. I didn't hear any questions or comments, so let's go ahead and take a vote on that. Up to there. All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. That's unanimous. All right. Now we're down to general government. Again, I'll read through the numbers, and if you have a question, please say hold. Select Board, $24,136. Town Manager, $693,119. Finance Committee, $102,543. Finance Department, $171,371. Town Accountant, $425,042. Board of Assessors, $384,836. Treasurer Collector, $357,636. Legal Services, $160,000. Human Resources, $858,204. Technology, $1,200,685. Town Clerk, $408,308. Permitting Department, $424,342. Conservation Commission, $124,963. Planning Board, $125,760. Zoning Board of Appeals, $2,700. Town Hall Maintenance, $119,045. Public Buildings and Properties Maintenance, $316,127. Seeing no holds on those, let's take a vote up to there. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, that's unanimous. Moving on to was there a nay? I'm sorry. Sorry. Please let me know if I miss them. Passes by a majority, but it's not unanimous. Under Public Safety, Police Department, $6,466,176. Public Safety Communications, $997,085. Fire Department, $4,457,956. Building Department, $511,291. Sealer of Weights and Measures, $25,000. Emergency Management, $12,744. Animal Control, $71,192. Under Education, Westford Public Schools, $73,415,660. Under Public Works, Department of Public Works, $3,958,549. Yeah. You are correct. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to back up to education again. So Westford Public Schools is $71,491.45, and I'm get a little punchy. Okay, $71,491,045, and Neshoba Tech is $1,924,615. The total under education is $73,415,660. Yes. The education numbers. Can we have somebody address that, please? Yes. So the question is, can you break down the education, the public school budgets?
So I think the question is...
Let's go to the microphone. This is really a question, not a point of order, but it's okay. We'll take it. So get close to the microphone. Just get close to it and you'll... Try again.
WestfordCAT. Yep, it's working.
And start with your name and address, please.
23 Monadnock Drive. At the last town meeting, when this was presented, it was requested that in future presentations that the details of these large numbers be given for the education. And it's the same as it has always been.
Thank you for the question. In the motions booklet, the numbers are very generic. In the Finance Committee book that was part of the packet, the numbers are broken out on page 31.
Does that answer the question? We don't put it in the motions booklet because it's already pretty big, but it's in the Finance Committee booklet. All right. So let's vote on that. We're at the bottom of total education. All in favor of those that I've read, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, it's not unanimous, but it passes. We are now at Public Works. Department of Public Works, $3,958,549. Waste Disposal Services, $2,833,267. Is that a hold? Okay, there's a hold on waste disposal services. Wastewater treatment management. Yes? Yes, that was included. The public safety and education was all in the same. Did everybody understand that's what we were doing? I'm sorry. He said that we didn't vote on public safety, but the last vote we took was public safety and public education. I just want to make sure everybody understood that's what we were doing. Except for you, John. All right. So we are at wastewater treatment management, $393,568. And let's keep going. Under Health and Human Services, Board of Health, $554,131. Council on Aging, $655,338. Veterans Services, $137,114. I'm going to stop there, and let's vote on everything except the hold for waste disposal services. So we're starting at Public Works, going down through Health and Human Services. Okay? Everybody know what we're doing? On wastewater treatment. Okay. So we are not voting either waste disposal services or wastewater treatment. It's for all the other things that were read. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. That is unanimous. All right, will the person who has the waste disposal services hold, please? Not unanimous, okay. Will the person who has the hold on waste disposal services please approach the microphone?
Anthony DeLeo, Vos Road.
Tony, can you get close to the microphone, because otherwise it doesn't magnify.
Anthony DeLeo, Vos Road.
There we go.
I'm sorry if I'm repeating some things that Doug tried to bring up earlier, where
That's
we should have
fine.
discussed all
That's
of
fine.
this at the same time, but I had a couple of clarification questions. The first is related to the $80,000, and is that the analyst hire? That's my first question.
Yes, so on page 14, line item 430, personnel services, go over to fiscal year 27, TMR, the $80,000 is to fund the salary for the operations analyst position.
Okay, the one we just voted in.
That is correct.
Okay. My second question is related to the number under it. When I went through the detail earlier that's in the previous published material that came out, the savings that we're going to try to achieve in waste management can only be achieved by reducing tonnage. We have contracts with the service providers that are fixed for the next 3 years, so those are fixed costs. And the only savings we can do is to reduce tonnage. My question, which I totally don't understand, is how are we going to reduce tonnage simply by reducing the size of the containers and making people go to bags?
Okay, we'll get an answer to that.
Thank you for the question. So moving to a pay-as-you-throw system, which many municipalities in Massachusetts have done, it is documented almost without question that everyone that has moved has seen savings anywhere from 10 to 30 to 40% on those transitions. Based on where we are in our program as it is now with our current limits and what we would be moving to with a hybrid program, we're estimating around a 15% savings. So we're trying to be appropriately conservative with it. But yes, it is a tonnage savings.
But is there detail about where that comes from?
Essentially, every study that we have seen and in every other community, what we have seen is the only way to reduce tonnage is actually to monetize it, charge fees. So it changes behavior. It changes what people think about putting in their trash.
So it's behavioral change that we're trying to induce. Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on waste disposal services? Yes, sir, at the center microphone.
So the discussion is that we need, well, not discussion, it was said that if we reduce tonnage, we save costs. Mark Tizigan, 5 North Main Street. It was said in order to reduce the cost, we need to reduce our tonnage. Over the past 4 years, we've actually reduced our tonnage 19%, according to your own documentation. Why is the cost still going up?
I'm not sure where you've seen that our tonnage has gone down 19%. We did see a 14% reduction for fiscal year 25 with a change in new hauler. But our tonnage itself has essentially had a either close to even or slight increase each year.
It's actually in one of the published documents. In fiscal year 2022, we were at 7,280 tons. Fiscal year 2025, we're at 5,861.
I'd have to see that if you wanted to show that to me. I don't know if you have that in a format I can look at, but I'm looking at our recycling commission, former recycling commission member over there that submitted all of the reports to the state, and I don't believe that's accurate, sir. Certainly,
Okay.
happy to look over with you, but again, we haven't seen anything that shows us our tonnage is going down short of the change with the hauler.
All right, if you want to find it and bring it up to him, that would be fine.
Happy to look at it.
In the meantime,
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So the other part of the question that was asked that I think is relevant to this conversation is why are our costs still increasing if our tonnage is decreasing?
How do I turn this thing on?
Through our...
Okay, no, just a moment. The town manager is speaking right now.
So through our...
So you'll have to wait to be recognized, sir. Okay?
So through our contract, we have a 5-year contract with E.L. Harvey. There are escalators year over year that we had agreed to in that contract and we need to budget for. We also contract with Covanta to incinerate our waste, and there are escalators in that contract as well. As we all know, our costs are increasing year over year, and that's why, even though we're seeing some decreases in our tonnage, we do see increases in the budget because of those costs with our hauler and the incinerator and other ancillary costs.
Okay, while we're waiting for this gentleman to try and find his information, can we take the person who had the hold on the wastewater treatment management? Is that you, Heather?
No, I actually...
Okay,
that
if you have a
prompted
hold on
question.
this other one too, that's fine, or a question about it.
I had a question based on the answer that just happened, so Heather Fitzpatrick, Shannon Circle. Kristen just talked about the reasons for the increases in this number, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe also in that number is $72,000 for bags and barrels, $30,000 for additional recycling programs, $40,000 for pickup of the bags. So this increase also reflects the new pay-as-you-throw program.
Does somebody want to answer that? Okay.
Yes, thanks, Heather. Those are all added costs to the program, and the decrease in solid waste has helped to offset it. But overall, the operating budget with the pay-as-you-throw, the expense side is going up by $70,000. However, under local revenue, we have fees that are out there that we have estimated very conservatively at $275,000. So the $80,000 for the analyst plus the $70,000 for the pay-as-you-throw cost are offset by that $275,000. So sort of the net projected savings is about $125,000 overall to the general fund. Thank you.
At the center microphone, sir.
Peter Cena, 13 Saltford Road. Looking at wastewater treatment management, the cost increased from FY25 to budgeted FY26 over $65,000, and now we're looking at a projected increase for FY27 of another over $81,000. Those are extremely large jumps. Can that be explained, and can we expect large jumps like this every year going forward?
So I'll have our DPW Director, Kyle Fox, who oversees water and wastewater, speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. So as of during this past fiscal year, we completed our current 3-year contract with our current wastewater vendor that maintains our plants. So we needed to go out to new bidding to get updated rates. And we received a number of bids for the next contract, all of which were in the same range. So the increase reflects a change in just general operating costs over the years. One piece of good news I would share is at the last town meeting, or special town meeting, the body approved us going out to 10-year contracts instead of 3-year contracts. So we now have price certainty year over year with contracted scheduled increases. But over the next 10 years, we won't see these kind of increases again.
Thank you.
Sir, sir, at the microphone, do you have a question about one of these two items?
Yes. Yes. Does this budget assume they were going with the pace?
Sir, you have to speak closer to the microphone so we can hear.
I am. I thought I was. Am I all right now?
Okay, you just use the one. Just use the microphone on the stand. Oh my God.
Paul Hedman, Bose Hill Road. Does this budget assume that we're going with the, throw and save, or whatever you want to call it? Pay as you throw. Does it assume that? And if it does Does part of the vendor charge include the 8,000 garbage cans that they're forcing us to buy?
Okay. We'll get an answer to that.
So the budget as presented does assume that the town is moving towards pay-as-you-throw as the select board voted. The carts that will be delivered to your home at no additional charge are part of the grant and Article 2 that you previously voted upon.
Excuse me, can I ask a little bit of amplification? When you say part of the grant, does that mean the town is not paying any extra for those 8,000 garbage cans?
So the over 8,000 carts are being purchased by a state grant and by the allocation that was made under Article 2 this morning.
Okay, so it's not costing Westford anything on that?
We already voted that in Article 2.
You already voted the cost.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are you standing at the microphone there?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have
okay.
a question.
Yes, Nancy.
Avril, 14 Bill Street. Okay, we don't have town sewage. Where does this wastewater come from, and where is the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, we'll get Mark Warren,
Just a
the
question.
water commissioner, to
Been wondering about that.
water superintendent, sorry.
So
to
I'll cover
answer.
it in very broad base. The wastewater treatment plants are to capture municipal buildings and the Stony Brook housing over by the Stony Brook School. So you're correct that municipalities and residents do not have sewer, but our town buildings are on these wastewater treatment plants.
That's 100% correct, and it's discharged to groundwater.
Okay. I think those are all the questions we have on these two items. So let's do the waste disposal services. That's line item 430, $2,833,267. Let's do that one first, okay? Okay, you're right. This gentleman provided some information to Assistant Town Manager Mike Edwards. So
yes, he corrected me, and he was right, and I do apologize for having an error on our tonnage. So we did have a consistent increase for the first 8 years of that period that he referred to. We dropped off when the Select Board changed the collection policy to exclude 4-family and above properties, and then we had a significant drop in 2025 when we changed haulers and began enforcing our current contract. So right now we are on a per tons per household, sitting really just barely above the state average in terms of tons per household. So hopefully that clarifies it.
okay, that having been clarified, let's move to the vote. I'm going to ask you to use your clickers on this. If you are in favor of line item 430, waste disposal services, you'll vote yes. If you're opposed to it, you'll vote no. Voting is open. Voting will close in 5 seconds. Okay, voting is closed. This line item passes, 192 yes to 45 no. Let's move to wastewater treatment management. Those having been just informational questions, I'm going to take that by voice vote. All in favor of wastewater treatment management, which is line item 442 in the amount of $393,568, say aye. All opposed? I didn't hear any nays. Oh, one? Okay. Not unanimous. Passes by a majority. Okay. We are now down at culture and recreation. Everybody with me? All right. Library, $1,920,427. Land management, $53,000. Historical Commission, $16,000. Debt service, $4,436,862. Hold. I got a hold on that. Unclassified, negative $1,694,845. Employee benefits and miscellaneous, $12,583,327. Transfers to and from trusts, $14,539,000. Community Preservation Fund, $1,204,626. Water Enterprise, $6,028,347. Recreation Enterprise, $1,341,526. Ambulance Enterprise, $1,451,966. And Stormwater Enterprise, Stormwater Management, $1,601,110. Okay, except for debt service that we have a hold on, we'll vote on everything from Culture and Recreation down. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, I'm going to say that was unanimous. All right. Okay, will the person who has the hold on debt service please approach the microphone?
Steve Canellis, 5 Swanson Lane. The only person that put a hold on that, which is amazing. Question is, if the debt service goes up by 11.2%, what is the total amount of debt that we have out there? It seems to be we keep ballooning up to large number, 3.1 million to almost 4 million, now 4.4. There must be some huge numbers that we're consciously or unconsciously approving and going after debt here. So, I mean, how much debt do we have? I tried to find it in a balance sheet format, but it could not. So,
we'll get an answer to that.
I'm a finance guy.
So in the Finance Committee book on page 40, we have a table in there that shows the amount of permanently bonded debt. Currently, the amount that's due over the various periods is $19,585,000. That doesn't include some of the debt that is not permanently bonded yet, including like the library and the Blanchard Roof project and other smaller projects that have not yet been permanently borrowed, which I have a list of those, which I could provide you if you'd like to see it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so that the percentage of that is, do the math, is 4 million over 20? The interest, the debt service is 4 million and the outstanding debt is 20. Is that right?
Outstanding permanently borrowed debt. So there's more debt on top of that. So that is not yet permanently borrowed. So we don't have those final figures, but I can share a copy of that list with you. The permanently borrowed debt, very easy to calculate. We have the bond schedules for each one. They're at various interest rates and whatnot and terms. So we have all that detail that I'm happy to share.
Okay, look forward. But basically it's 20% interest rate. If I borrowed $20 million and I paid $4 million in interest, that would be 20% interest rate.
No, the $4 million is what's due this year. So the interest rates they're usually within the 3% for the most part once we borrow the money. So it's principal and interest we're paying. So I could show it to you if you want to discuss it further.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Seeing no further questions on debt service, we'll take the vote. All in favor of debt service in the amount of $4,436,862, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That is not unanimous, but it is a majority. Okay. Articles 14 through 18 were disposed of in the consent agenda, so we're now at Article 19. Under Article 19, I have a motion for the town to transfer an easement on the J.V. Fletcher Library property to National Grid for the purpose of providing electricity to our expanded library. Is there a second to the motion under Article 19? Are there any questions about providing electricity to the library? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. This is a 2/3 vote, so I need you to use your clickers. It's 2/3 because we're actually transferring an interest in land. An easement is an interest in land, so we have to do that by a 2/3 majority. When I say voting is open, if you want to approve electricity to the library, you'll vote yes, and if you don't, you'll vote no. Voting is open. Okay, voting will close in 5 seconds. Voting is closed. The motion passes 216 yes to 14 no. Under Article 20, I have a motion requesting the town meeting authorize the select board to ask the legislature to consider a special law which would allow us to publish our legal notices in online-only publications. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, Town Manager Kristen Loss.
Thank you. In the packet materials, we have a memorandum regarding Article 20, where we are asking town meeting to allow the select board to petition to the general court to allow us to publish legal notices in a digital format rather than a paper publication. Since the local newspaper, the Westford Eagle, thank you, is no longer, our boards and committees and our departments are publishing the required legal notices within the Lowell Sun. And those costs have skyrocketed over the course of time. As you may have seen in my opening presentation, the town is spending over $20,000 on legal notices per year. And in addition to that, developers and homeowners are spending their own money if they are required to pay for those legal ads as part of their permitting, whether it be through land use permitting, select board permitting, or others. Over the course of the year or so, other municipalities have been petitioning to the general court to allow a change in the law to allow for digital legal notices to be posted on the town's websites. In a manner to be more efficient and to use our funds in other areas, we are asking town meeting to allow the select board to petition the same way. We feel that we will be successful. We've spoken with the representative's office and they have understood our approach. And we also feel that there's several benefits from this. We feel that many residents are not reading a newspaper at this point in time as the Lowell Sun, so it would improve public access. We are working with our partners at WCAT on how they can help us. If we would like to put ads in the paper, use them, which may be a lesser cost alternative. We want to be more modern. A lot of people are going to the town website when they're trying to obtain information rather than paying for a Lowell Sun publication. And we want to have our local control to allow us the flexibility of if we feel that a project or a process should receive more notice, that we would then go forward with posting on both a digital format and a paper format. So in conclusion, we do need town meeting action in order to file this petition with the general court. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Emily, are you going back to ask a question? Okay. Just start right up when you get there. Name and
Thank you.
address.
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I hope that these legal notices, if they are posted on the town website, will be really easy and not, for example, by board or something that people have to really dig into to find. If it were up to me, I'd put it on the home page and just say legal notices for the week of. But I'm concerned that the complication of our website could be a disadvantage of this. And I also would like to speak in favor of The Villager, which WestfordCAT is publishing and has been published. I think it would be a great vehicle for legal notices because it comes to your house and you can open it up, or there is also a digital subscription. And it would be nice to do both.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Oh, yes.
Andy Malio, Pierce Ave. If it's on the town website, can I subscribe to legal notices? Is there going to be an RSS feed or something like that? I'm in favor of this. I just want to make sure I don't miss stuff.
We certainly have that capability to create that feed if this is approved at town meeting. Thank you for the question.
Lisa.
Yeah, will we be able to keep historical, accurate information about what was or was not posted? Because I've seen sometimes we've had issues where a posting didn't make it. It happens, right? But if it didn't get posted, we should know that, and we should know when it was posted. So will we have that historical trail? And how will we do that?
So perhaps I don't understand the question, but all of our legal notices that are posted are historical documents, and we are required to keep them as part of the public records law.
All right, let me try and explain. So let's say we posted a meeting, but we posted it incorrectly. We said the start time was 6 p.m., or we said it was 2 days ago instead of 2 days from now, and it was a mistake. It happens. So we might repost it, but we might not post it in time, so the meeting has to be postponed, that sort of thing. So having that accurate historical record when you have to change it, how will we do that?
So I think your question pertains to agendas and not legal notices.
Well, I think it applies to all of it. Like, for example, blasting notices, right? Sometimes they get posted, right? Yeah, a couple times a year, maybe they don't, that sort of thing. So when we have this sort of posting that we're talking about here, that this is applying to, I think our structure is set up so that we can put something out there. But I'm not sure we're set up to have accurate records of when.
Lisa, can I ask, are you asking if the incorrect notices could remain up online?
I'm asking if we have the infrastructure in place to keep records of what was posted when, so that we can look at it historically when it was corrected, when it was changed. Will we have that audit trail of what was changed?
So everything that's posted on our website has a trail. We have a back-end module that staff has access to, but that does not pertain to this article regarding legal notices. So I'm happy to have an offline conversation with you to try to get to
I'll give you a call.
solution.
Sir, at the center microphone.
Yes, so...
Name and address, please.
Oh, Peter Sina, 13 Salt Fork Road.
Thank you.
The wording says to publish in online-only publications, but as I listen to it, it sounds like you only want to publish online. Does that preclude, for example, if you publish online, does that mean you're never going to put up a paper notice in places where people congregate, such as the library, the senior center, town hall, that people could see things in another venue?
So this article allows us to post legal notices online. That does not preclude us for posting in the library, the senior center, putting a flyer up at the Market Basket bulletin board. If we feel that an item is really appropriate to get a wide reach, we are currently working through our communication strategy, trying to increase people's involvement, and we would want to do that as well, in addition to.
Thank you.
John.
John Amano, 88 Chamberlain Road. Sorry, I got lost for a moment there. How are we going to know where to check for our notice? Right now, that if I live in Westford and I had a newspaper, I could look at the Westford paper. Right now, we look at the Chelmsford paper or another one. Where are we going to go? is the town going to post on the town website public notices that you should really know about? And if you have issues, you should really look at them? Or don't we really know yet? Because when this first came out, I said, this has the opportunity to screw up everything. So,
Okay, I think we understand your question.
Yeah.
Kristen, you may as well stay up there until
So the legal notices would be posted on the Town of Westford's webpage. I think we've heard you loud and clear this afternoon that you would like to make that as easy as possible, whether or not it's just a button on the homepage or that you receive notification via our news flash. So we're not looking to hide anything. We're looking to save a little bit of money for the town side. We're looking for developers and for homeowners to save money and to make that as easy as possible. If this is approved at the legislature, I can assume that the select board will have a formal policy in place of how this will be carried out, and we'll communicate that to the public.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Good luck with that.
Ellen.
Ellen Hardy, 39 Main Street. I think there is a not clarity about what legal notice means. As I read this, and I know when we went through this for various projects I've been involved in town, if the planning board is holding a hearing, the person who's asking for the hearing must pay for that legal notice of the planning board hearing. Same with the Board of Appeals. That's not the same as what Alyssa was talking about in terms of what night does the recycling commission meet. If I'm wrong on that, please clarify it for me, Kristen, but I think the legal notices have a different definition than just notifying Westford about anything that's happening in Westford. Is there a distinction there?
So, Ellen, you are correct. There are statutory requirements. If the planning board is to hold a public hearing, the zoning board holding a public hearing, the school committee holds a public hearing on their budget, the conservation commission holds public hearings, the select board holds public hearings on a variety of matters. This is what we are talking about. Thank you.
Sir?
Could you, just as a suggestion.
Sir, you have to get close to the microphone and start with your name and address, please.
I thought I said it enough times. But anyway, Paul Hedeman, 39 Rose Hill Road. Oh. Believe it or not, I know how to use a computer. But anyway, is it possible to send out an email to those, for the town folks that have emails? So that would alert me, because I don't always go to the Westford site. But if I see an email say such and such is happening, and it's that would, I think, make it a little bit easier.
All right, we'll get an answer to that.
So yes, perhaps I used the wrong terminology or a confusing terminology. When someone signs up for our alerts on our website, you would get an email notification, and it is also possible to get text message notifications.
Okay, thanks.
Stay there, Kristen. Don't go anywhere. Erica.
Erica Cole, Francis Hill Road. I actually think Elisa had a very good. I actually think Elisa had a terrific question, and I was wondering about the answer. So if there is a legal notice put out that should be exactly correct, and it's not correct, and it has to be decided at, say, the planning board, and it gets changed to be correct the morning of the meeting, and the public has been incorrectly told about something? I mean, is there a record? What the answer was it doesn't pertain to this particular article, but I guess I'm wondering if there is a change made and it's too late for the public to really understand it before it's...
Kristen, let's let Greg answer what the process would be for correcting legal notices.
Sure, and I think Lisa was noticing the blasting notices, which are not public legal notices, so I'll let Greg answer the question.
Thank you, through you, Madam Moderator. So there are two different types of notices that the town would publish. The first are notices under the open meeting law of public meetings. Those notices have to be published on the website at least 48 hours prior to the meeting and give notice of what's going to be discussed at that meeting. If there is an error in that type of notice and it's more than 48 hours before the meeting, it can be corrected, but the law requires that the correction be shown on the face of the notice. And if you go to the town's website, you'll see the notice and the amended notice in the same place. The other type of notice, which is what we're talking about here, are notices of public hearings. And there are certain statutes that say if the planning board is going to have a hearing, it has to publish notice in a newspaper of general circulation. And what this act would do was say, instead of the newspaper of general circulation, it can be posted in an online format. It doesn't change the fact that the original notice is still going to be there and has to be maintained as a public record. And if there's an error and a new notice is posted in that location, then you would know this is the amended notice. Generally speaking, meeting notices shouldn't be amended on the day of the meeting. And if it's something like, a planning board hearing or a zoning board hearing, those hearings wouldn't be able to go forward if the notices were defective in some way.
And would there be some sort of, there would be a record of that? There would be a strike-through or something?
Yes, there's a record. The town clerk would have a record.
Thank you.
Okay, any more? Seeing no further questions on Article 20, we'll go ahead and move to the vote. This is a simple majority. Let's see if we can do it by voice vote, by the way. The Select Board recommends this 5-0, and the Finance Committee recommends it 8-0. Okay, all in favor of Article 20, authorizing the Select Board to ask the legislature to consider Home Rule petition, which would allow us to publish our legal notices in online publications, say aye. All opposed say nay. It is not unanimous, but it passes by a majority. All right, Article 21. I have a motion requesting that the town adopt a new general bylaw prohibiting the installation and use of Bitcoin ATMs, cryptocurrency machines, or any type of virtual currency kiosks in town. Is there a second to the motion under Article 21? All right, we have a presentation by Police Chief Mark Chambers and Detective Sergeant Dennis Rogers. I didn't see you there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Chambers, Chief of Police with the Westford Police Department. Hopefully this goes a little bit better than the firearms bylaw amendment. So it was brought to my attention, I was approached last fall by Detective Sergeant Rogers, who's a 27-year veteran with the Westford Police Department, and he's been in detectives for the past 26, so when he speaks, I listen. He brought to my attention that there's a new mechanism for scams that is becoming much more prevalent, and that is the use of cryptocurrency kiosks to scam our vulnerable residents out of their money. So Article 21 is an attempt to mitigate some of that type of fraud. Article 21 will prohibit the installation and use of virtual currency kiosks, Bitcoin ATMs, in publicly accessible locations in Westford. The purpose is to prevent crime, protect residents' property, and address scams enabled by anonymous and sometimes irreversible crypto transactions. There currently are similar bylaws that have gone through the AG's office and been approved through Waltham, Ipswich, and South Hadley, so we're trying to be very proactive in our approach on this. Why is this bylaw needed? Kiosks are widely used in these types of fraud schemes due to the anonymity and third-party validation, no third-party validation. The fraud often does work. The scammers will get your personal information and some of your general background information and use that for manipulation, intimidation, and threats. Currently, we are approaching close to $600,000 in losses by Westford residents over the past 3 years. These overseas transfers happen very quickly after the initial transaction occurs, which makes our recovery efforts extremely difficult for law enforcement. Very often our federal partners will not be involved until the loss exceeds $1 million. So what the bylaw does, there we go. Don't ask me what crypto is because I can barely work the clicker. All right, what the bylaw does, it prohibits hosting, operating, allowing, locating, or placing a virtual currency kiosk in any publicly accessible location. So if you look at the slide, those are 3 little examples of what those cryptocurrency kiosks can look like. That was Mr. Efficiencies Edwards asked me to put that in there. So again, don't ask me how I got that little red thing around it either. So what this bylaw will do will require the removal of all publicly accessible kiosks within 60 days of the effective date of the bylaw. This does not restrict any non-kiosk cryptocurrency transactions through more, I would say, legitimate means. We do currently have 6 cryptocurrency kiosks located within our community, one at the mobile station on Littleton Road, CVS, Spinners, Nab Liquors, the Westford Smoke Shop on Littleton Road, as well as the Big Apple Deli. And those businesses do receive different amounts of money from the companies to host those cryptocurrency kiosks. I think the last example that we had was about $300 a month to host the crypto kiosk within their business. So what this, the other thing that this bylaw will do is, there we go, enforcement and penalties that we'll be able to enforce. It allows any Westford police officer or agent of the select board to issue penalties after the 30-day cure period. So if we notice that there's an organization or a business that has one of the crypto kiosks still in their business, we provide them notification that it is illegal to, well, it's prohibited to have those on their premises, and within 30 days, if it's not cured, they get a $100 violation, $200 for a second violation, $300 for a third violation. And those are consecutive days. Each day creates a new violation. If we have someone that does not continue, take any action, we do reserve the right to pursue court enforcement or injunctive relief. So that's just a basic overview of the bylaw. If you want to dive in depth into all the legal jargon, which I unfortunately I do understand, you can read it within our purple booklets. So with that.
Okay, any questions or comments on this motion? All right, seeing none, we'll take the vote. This is a majority vote also. Let's do a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. I don't think it's unanimous. Yeah.
And if I may, I just would like to say thank you very much to Detective Sergeant Rogers for bringing such an important thing to our attention.
All right, we are at Article 22. Article 22 is a citizen's petition. That means it's brought before you as a result of a petition generated by a citizen and signed by at least 10 registered voters. Because this is a citizen's petition, neither the Select Board nor any other board or committee has taken a position on it. I'll read the exact words of the petition for your consideration. Under Article 22, I have a motion that the town vote to rescind the decision of the Select Board to implement a pay-as-you-throw solid waste collection system and to direct that the town continue to provide curbside household trash collection under the same conditions and user fee structure in effect prior to the implementation of pay-as-you-throw. Is there a second to the motion under Article 22? Okay, we'll have a presentation by the lead petitioner, Megan O'Connell. Megan, you can come up here. You can come up here. This is the official presenter position. Yes. That's not a point of order. We can get to that discussion if you wish, but that's not a point of order.
I'm Megan O'Connell, 44 South Chelmsford Road, and I promise, this being the last article, I will not use the full 6 minutes.
Megan, you have to get right on top of the microphone so they hear you.
I apologize. Megan O'Connell, 44 South Chelmsford Road. I volunteered to sponsor this petition. I promise I won't use the full 6 minutes that I've been allotted, since we've already discussed many of the aspects of pay-as-you-throw today. And I want everyone to be able to enjoy the rest of their Saturday. As someone just mentioned, this is not a bind-in referendum. It just serves as an advisory towards the select board. And it really comes down to two separate things that I just want to talk about briefly that haven't, I don't believe, discussed during the course of today. One is that, as currently designed, it disproportionately affects larger families. And the second point is that the reduction from the current allowed 96 barrels or 96 gallons down to the proposed 35 gallons is too much of a reduction in one fell swoop. That's a reduction of 64%, and I think it would have been accepted much more broadly to ease into that, maybe over the course of a year or two. You know, perhaps even for the first year, offering people complimentary excess bags so that we can adjust from 3 barrels down to 2, down to 1, maybe a year in the future. But that was really the impetus of this petition, to see if the select board would reconsider how it's implemented and not to do away with it completely. So I fully support efforts to reduce trash and increase recycling wherever possible. But I think it could be done in a way that would be more palatable to some of the residents. If I may, Madam Moderator, just make one more request. I did get a message from someone that just left town meeting that there are no recycle bins to put the handouts as people leave, so if we might be able to address that.
Yeah, there is a recycle bin. Don't waste your time doing this. I'll announce it when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay.
I think everyone's heard enough.
Okay, great. So are there questions or comments on this motion? Yes, sir, at the microphone to my right.
Leland Derbenwick, 95 Jimney Drive. I'm a bit confused based on what seemed to be conflicting things from the earlier discussion. There was a big push that part of this is the trash haulers are going to fully automated systems. Bags don't work with fully automated systems. How is that going to be reconciled?
All right, we'll get an answer to that for you, sir.
Thank you. That's a great question. So what we estimate based on the data points that we have, including our trash and hauling data, information we have from the surveys, is that this will move roughly 65 to 75% of our total collections to fully automated. Since we started this process, and this is one of the reasons we looked at the hybrid system, is we have to recognize that we have to eventually transition to a fully automated system. The bags are not going to be a long-term solution. We are going to have to move to some type of a system that is fully automated, fully cart-based. Unfortunately, the technology is not available right now to kind of get us to that point where we can have a variable component. So the bags are a good place to start getting us to that point, but this does get us much more automated than we are now, plus all of the automation that we have, all of the carts that we would have on the ground would be collected with the same truck, same arms, same process. They'd be uniform. That will get us a pretty huge degree of efficiency over what we have right now. I hope that answers the question.
If there's one bag on a street, they still have to send a truck to do a manual pickup on that, don't they?
Yes, we have a manual collection contract right now. So basically you can put bags, containers, carts, boxes, whatever. They will collect it. We do not have any kind of a standard. This moves us to a point where the majority of our collection will be done fully automated as we begin to transition to a 100% fully automated collection over a number of years. A point that we have made repeatedly in the public presentations is Westford is at a strong disadvantage with bidding because of our manual collection requirements. So we are trying to position ourselves to be in a much better place when we go back out in 2 years to rebid this contract.
Thank you. Next person in line.
Paul Nottish, 17 Buckingham Drive. It seems to me that there's two separate things that are being done here to reduce cost. One is to have a common size container, and the second is to would allow you to negotiate better, and the second one is to reduce the number of containers per person. Right now, I have a two-person family. We use one 32-gallon container most of the time, and it works fine. And I sympathize with the statement that Megan made about larger families. So it seems like I would like to see us require a common size container so that you can negotiate a better contract, but not limit the containers, or to keep it at a 96-gallon container.
Thank you. The center microphone, please.
Peter Cena, 13 Saltford Road. 2 questions. Number 1, currently we can buy stickers for large items that don't fit in trash cans. What would happen to that under this new system?
No change.
And your second question?
Second question. If bags are not to remain permanent, would a large family who finds that 135-gallon container isn't sufficient, would they be able to just say, like, buy a second container and have 2?
I don't think I'm speaking prematurely when I say that I think that will be one of the first things our operations analyst position will be looking at, is that next level of what our pay-as-you-throw program looks like, which could include variable-sized carts, it could include multiple carts. But now that we believe we have the management capacity to handle that, that is something we will look at. So
Thank you.
We won't just limit it to 35 and that's it.
At the microphone to my left.
Joyce Carpenter, 81 Providence Road. I'm just wondering if the town has a suggestion for what we do with all of the old plastic containers.
We have several ideas. A lot of them did hinge on what happened with both all the different budget pieces that we had discussed today, but also the operations analyst. We're going to work with the Recycling Commission and figure out a way that we can do some type of a recycling or a take back. Obviously, the first thing we would encourage people to do is find another use for it. If you want to come by Town Hall, we've got stickers where you can turn your old trash cart into a recycling cart, just like that. So just stay tuned to social media, stay tuned to the town's website. We'll announce some ways that we're going to figure out how to deal with that now that we know exactly what we're dealing with and what resources we have to deploy.
John?
John Amato, 88 Chamberlain Road. How much is the cost if I need an extra bag?
A bag is $2.75 each.
$2.75.
And they're sold in rolls of 5.
So if I needed one every week, just for me, $2, round it to 3, okay, because math is easy. So 3,000 times 3 would probably, that's a lot of money.
It's $143 a year, $11.43 on average per week.
And if everybody in the town, every house in the town, all 8,000 houses did that, what would that be?
Well, we're estimating that we are going to see, for revenue purposes, sales around 100,000 bags in the first year. The hope is that...
What would the value be that we're paying the extra?
The revenue would be $275,000, so that distributed by everybody who purchased a bag.
Okay, thank you.
At the center microphone.
Steve Canellis, 5 Swanson Lane. I may have a different perspective, but in our neighborhood, we had containers left over from the previous service, which 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then the new guys came in, and some of those were broken, so we got new ones. And everywhere I look, I'm not an expert in trash in the city, but it seems like those containers are all over the place, and our guys are all automatic. They pull up, and so same way for the recycle. So I don't know if I'm 5% or 50% of this city, the town. Why wouldn't we just continue a version of that and say you can only put one container out, which is bigger? It's, sort of what he was just talking about. Maybe an evolution thing is that you can only put one 96 container out. You already have it, and if 75% of the town has it already, you're almost there. I don't. Is that not the way it is?
Well, there's a couple different ways to answer that question. I'll address the first one being the goal of waste reduction. And this is based off the goals that the Select Board gave us when designing the program. They wanted to keep a portion, what met the needs of most households most of the time under the levy without having any additional charge. That's why we have a hybrid program. And that essentially looks at units of garbage. So 35 gallons is a unit. 35 gallons there is a unit, whether it's in a cart or a bag. The cart, having a standardized cart, was the only way that we could provide the first 35 gallons per household for free. So that is one of the reasons that we did not look at a 65 gallon as a standard. The second piece of that is if we were to standardize around a 65 gallon, there's no grants available for that. That's $500,000 to $600,000 worth of carts that in order for us to have a standard cart, we would have to pay that fully out of town revenues or town expenses. So those are a couple of answers, but basically what we are looking to do is keep that first unit of trash for free under the levy right now and monetize and have a fee base on the extra, which is why we have the combination of bags and carts versus just a larger cart.
So the primary reason is to reduce the amount of waste.
Correct. Yes.
Coming out, and but the cost. It seems that we ought to take a look at it to get to the first level, which would compromise. If you have in a cart today, put the existing one you have out today. So some guys are putting 2 and 3, they put 2 out and plus other bags. So all you could put out would be 1 plus the bags. Would just seem, I mean, reusing those things is useless. I have 4 of them. I have no idea what I would do with 4 of those things, 2 for recycle and 2 for, so that reusing them in your house is not a viable alternative. So I'm just suggesting a lower cost alternative to this thing would be a migration step, as the gentleman to your right said, to say if you got it, use it, you can use 1, and then 2 years from now we see how that goes, and then you go to this next phase.
Well, again,
but I don't know what the percentage of, it's hard to say what the cost is. We tell people that if they don't have one, they have to buy one. They have to buy a dumper,
All right, thank you for your comment. Elisa?
Elisa, Betty Lane. I guess the word he just used, evolution, is what I'm thinking. Came to the session, offered you guys some thoughts, and I appreciate you heard some of them, right? I think you're probably going to take some action on some of the suggestions I'd made. One other concern I've got is I don't want to see this become a unfair revenue source on the backs of large families, so I hope that the board will consider instituting a revolving fund as soon as possible, so that we're certain any fees being raised by bags are going to go directly towards tipping fees, right, and not become another tax on us. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like such a shock. After I came to that session, I looked at my neighborhood, and I'm seeing 2 barrels, 3 barrels, 1 barrel. I mean, yeah, there's some folks putting out 1 barrels, yeah, but you did a survey. It wasn't a scientific survey. You got over 1,000 responses, but there's way more homes in town than that. And I think if we had said 2, it wouldn't have been such a shock. Or if it had been the larger container, it wouldn't have been such a shock. I just wish we could ease into it better. And so I wish you'd reconsider what you're doing right now. Because I don't see how it gets you to the automatic pickup. It doesn't. We're going to have trash bags. They're still going to have to pick them up. We're still going to use our other containers. So we're not where you want to be. I would rather have seen us take a more appropriate planned approach to really get us to where we need to be without this major shock. Thank you.
At the microphone to my right.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Peggy Ford, and I live on Patton Road. I have a question for clarification, if I could. I think I heard that even though we're moving to a semi-automated system, we're going to remain in a manual contract with the waste provider. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason, what do we have, like 2 years, 3 years left on that contract?
We're entering year 3.
So we have 2 years left?
Well, we have 3 years on this contract. We're finishing up our 2nd year right now.
Yeah, my question would have been why we didn't wait to the 3rd year and then go out to RFP and have the waste hauler provide the containers, which would have, I think, given us a little more advantage on options for the residents.
I can speak to what I think was the question there. Why would we not go ahead and do an RFP with new bins included as piece of that? We did that. Our initial RFPs that we put out prior to this contract, the only 2 that submitted on the condition that it be fully automated collection. They provide the carts, and it was well over $1 million additional dollars. So What we do intend to do is have discussions with our hauler and see about renegotiating what we have as we move to a more automated program. Again, we don't bring a whole lot to the table in any business. We need to be an attractive customer to get them to bring the prices down.
I work in this waste industry. I've been working in this industry for 35 years. I can tell you I know of no community that is exclusive to cart collection only. Almost all communities that I'm aware of that I know personally of also offer bag collection at a rate. So although they call it fully automated, they do offer alternative solutions for excess, whatever, either it's additional carts, bags, whatever, And then the other, just one quick question was in the material, I read that the revenue from the bags was going to use to offset the excess disposal costs, and then I read elsewhere that it was going to be used to expand our recycle program. So I was a little confused on that.
It's both. If you look at the November 25th memo, there's a full breakdown of every penny that goes into that $2.75. Recycling is a piece of that, cost of the actual trash in the bag itself, the collection, recycling, the analyst, everything's broken out by a $2.75 bag.
Okay, thanks for your time.
I'm going to take the people at the microphone, and then we'll move to the vote.
Elizabeth Almeida, 41 West
Elizabeth,
Street.
you have to get real close to the microphone.
Elizabeth Almeida, 41 West Street. I'd like to say thank you to the Select Board, the Recycling Commission, and the town staff who have worked hard on this and who have provided many, many opportunities for us to ask questions and learn. And I would also say I love you all, but I move the question.
Okay, we have a motion to move the question that is not debatable. It requires a 2/3 majority. Moving the question means we will stop discussion and move directly to the vote. Point of order. What is your point of order, George?
I believe your instructions to the voters for town meeting were that you cannot make a statement followed by a motion to end discussion.
You're right. I didn't count that thank you as a statement. Okay. Let's just, for the sake of not having any problems, let's just take the last two votes.
I move the vote.
All right. We have a second motion to move the question by someone who has not made a statement. So okay, we have a second. We need a 2/3 majority on this. I'm going to try and do it by voice vote, but actually, let's use our clickers. I don't want there to be any question. So if you're in favor of stopping debate and moving directly to the vote, you'll vote yes. If you are in favor of continuing debate, you'll vote no. Voting is now open. Voting will close in 5 seconds. Voting is closed. The motion to move the question passes 195 yes to 29 no. Let's move to the vote on Article 22. If you vote yes, you will be voting to, we didn't really talk about the rescind thing, but I think we talked about it before. You'll be voting in favor of this article, which the petitioner has told us is advisory in nature, so I think it's fair for me to say that again. If you vote no, you will be voting against this motion. Does everybody understand what we're voting on? And this is the vote on the motion. You need your clickers. It's only a majority vote All in favor vote, wait, not open yet. Voting is now open. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Voting will close in 5 seconds. Voting is closed. The motion fails. The vote is 153 to 77. Folks, before you leave, I have something to say. I want to thank the staff, all the board and committee members, and especially Town Manager Kristen Loss, who've helped answer all of my questions and put up with all of my requests to accomplish things that I thought would make town meeting better in the last 6 years. And most of all, I'd like to thank the members of the public who stopped me on the street or in the grocery store or who emailed me or who sent me a letter or who called me. I've really listened to every one of your suggestions, and many, many of them have been incorporated. And I'd like to thank you voters for coming to town meeting and participating, and please continue to participate because democracy works better when everyone participates. This concludes the 297th town meeting for the town of Westford. As always, I appreciate your time and participation in this very direct form of government. Please return your clickers when you leave. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? You're adjourned.